What we're going to do here today is we're going to go over the offshore data that the COGS students obtained for us. And they came up with some interesting stuff on the seafloor. So Jack and Alex have the data in front of them. Why don't you show Tony what we got?
3 minutes ago, something big might have happened for Rick and Marty Lagina on Oak Island. This holiday, they searched through the island's muddy swamps for legendary treasures, finding clues like ancient coins and a part of an old pistol.
That's a very interesting piece of wood. It's very similar to some of the planking that we've found.
Their recent discovery of a curved wooden piece has sparked excitement. It could be from a long-lost ship. With signs pointing to visits by ancient sailors, perhaps even from Spain, have the Laginas finally hit the jackpot? Tune in to see what they've found beneath the surface. Chasing the legend of Oak Island's treasures. During their holiday break, Rick and Marty Lagina, along with metal detector expert Gary Drayton and excavator Billy Gerhardt, dedicated their time to digging through the swampy areas of Oak Island. Their goal, driven by stories of hidden treasures and sunken ships believed to be buried since the 18th century, has never been fully realized despite many attempts by previous explorers. While some past efforts have yielded intriguing items such as bits of pottery or old nails, none have led to the discovery of any significant treasure.
Will we be able to unravel or to come to an understanding of what those secrets are and how relevant they are to the money pit work or the money pit story? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. But get down and dirty every day, you'll eventually figure it out.
The Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty, have poured a considerable amount of time and money into exploring the island, driven by a combination of personal passion and the thrill of potentially validating historical legends. On one of their recent trips to the swamp, they revisited a spot where they had previously found a piece of curved wood. This wasn't just any piece of wood. Its shape suggested it might once have been part of a boat structure, igniting hopes that it could be a fragment of a long-lost shipwreck. Driven by the possibility that this wood might be a clue to something greater, they decided to investigate the area further. Gary Drayton, the metal detector expert, has previously found items such as 18th century coins and a piece of a pistol with an inscription, suggesting that the island might have been a temporary stopover for travelers or traders, perhaps from Spain. Could these visitors have brought ships that ended up sinking nearby? And could this wood be a remnant of such a ship?
Digging on the Nolan side of the swamp, it's important to me for one reason. Fred believed that the swamp was key to solving the mystery. Is there a treasure galleon in the swamp, or is there a vault? And my hope is that it's there, and that we can find.
With each new finding, more questions arise, each one leading to further digging and speculation. Yet, concrete answers remain elusive. The excitement of each discovery fuels their continuing search, suggesting a rich historical tapestry that tantalizingly remains just out of reach. Each artifact, no matter how small, feeds into the larger narrative of a storied island that has captivated many before them. Before finding the curved piece of wood, the team had also noticed 3 large stones on the island. They wondered if there might be a connection between these stones and the wooden piece. Could the stones have been placed as markers by those who buried valuable items or remnants from a shipwreck? While these ideas are fascinating and certainly draw interest, they also require a skeptical approach. Each supposed clue, whether it be a piece of wood, an old coin, or a stone marker, could just as likely be an ordinary object, as it could be a key to uncovering a hidden past. The romantic notion of discovering buried treasure is powerful and can influence how findings are interpreted. The discovery of Viking settlements at Lanceau Meadows in the 1960s proves that ancient explorers traveled extensively. However, whether Oak Island is hiding similar historical treasures, or whether the Lagina brothers and their team are simply following historical echoes, remains to be seen. They may need to spend many more holiday seasons digging through the mud and exploring every corner of the island to find out. As the day ends, the mystery at Oak Island grows, pulling the brothers deeper, deciphering Oak Island's ancient alignments. The quest continues, fueled by each small discovery and the ever-present hope that the next dig will bring them closer to the historical breakthrough they seek. This ongoing saga not only captivates the Lagina brothers, but also captures the imagination of all who follow their endeavors, eagerly waiting to see what the next shovel of earth will reveal. Will it be another ordinary piece of wood, or will it finally be the clue that leads to a major discovery? Only time will tell, as the search on Oak Island continues, driven by both the allure of history and the excitement of the unknown. The tale of Oak Island is often wrapped in more fanciful tales than reality might support. Let's explore the various claims and their likelihoods, starting with the Vikings. When historians debate their settlements in North America, some suggest areas like Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. These locations place the Vikings somewhat near Oak Island, but what activities they undertook there remains unknown. The Templar Knights come into the picture as a wealthy and influential group from medieval Europe, spanning from the 10th to the early 12th century. The connection to Oak Island is hinted at by the discovery of ancient wood by the Lagina brothers, dating back to the 12th century, around the time the Templars were active. The Templars were known both for their fighting skills and their pioneering financial techniques. However, their fortunes changed dramatically when King Philip IV of France, who owed them a large debt, turned against them. On October 13, 1307, he ordered the arrest of Templar leaders, a move supported by the Pope with further arrests on November 22nd. This led to the Templars fleeing to various parts of the world, including possibly North America. Speculation about Oak Island suggests that it might have been a place of refuge for the Templars.
Each of us in our own way are trying to make these very positive connections between what we're seeing and doing in the old world and how it may relate to Oak Island and the mystery.
Archaeological findings on the island, such as 3 stone monuments from the 13th century, suggest they could have been built by Templars. However, considering that the Viking era ended by the 11th century, the question of whether any Vikings were still around to possibly meet the Templars adds a layer of complexity to the story. Professor Adriano Gaspani, an expert called in to examine the stone formations, noted their alignment with the stars, sun and moon, dating them back to the 13th century. He proposed that such precision in construction would require advanced knowledge in astronomy and geometry, likely possessed by groups such as the Templars. The narrative often teeters on the edge of historical possibility, suggesting a meeting or even collaboration between the Vikings and Templars on North American soil, though this is highly speculative given the historical timelines and lack of concrete evidence. Frederick G. Nolan, a land surveyor, enters the Oak Island story as someone fascinated by the island since the late 1950s.
Each of us in our own way are trying to make these very positive connections between what we're seeing and doing in the old world and how it may relate to Oak Island and the mystery.
His surveying work in the 1960s helped document important landmarks, many of which were later destroyed during subsequent excavations. Nolan's determination saw him buying parts of the island in 1966, after discovering they were not owned by another treasure hunter, Mel Chappell. This purchase led to a competitive and at times hostile relationship among those searching for treasure on the island. Nolan's discoveries included stone formations and artifacts that prompted numerous theories about the island's history, ranging from Templar involvement to other fringe ideas. Among his notable findings was a set of granite boulders arranged in the shape of a Latin cross, further fueling speculation and theory crafting about the island. New friends joined the hunt, ready to dig deeper into Oak Island's secrets: Vikings, Templars, and treasure. By 2015, after decades of rivalry, Nolan formed a partnership with the Blankenships and the Lagina brothers, allowing for a more unified approach to exploring the island's potential secrets. His theory about a ship deliberately sunk in the island's swamp suggests an ancient attempt to hide something valuable, possibly by Vikings or other mariners. Reviewing the full scope of Oak Island's story, it's evident that while the mix of historical figures like Vikings and Templars captures the imagination, the truth might be more mundane. The blending of factual history with tales of treasure hunts and ancient visitors creates a compelling narrative, but discerning the truth within the layers of lore and speculation is as challenging as the physical search on Oak Island itself. Tony Sampson, a diver exploring the swamp on Oak Island's southern side, discovered an old wooden plank submerged underwater. This find was intriguing enough to prompt further exploration by the Lagina brothers and their crew. They soon detected a significant amount of metal buried near the plank, suggesting there was more to the area than met the eye. The wood was dated back to between 1680 and 1735.
This symbol here I've seen in Templar prisons before, and it's sometimes described as a Viking cell,
indicating it was placed there well before any recorded efforts to dig or explore the island had begun. This old piece of wood seemed to confirm that the island had been the site of human activity long before modern treasure hunters arrived, giving rise to various theories about its origin. One theory proposed that the island's money pit and the flood tunnel at Smith's Cove were created by survivors of a Spanish treasure galleon laden with silver that had shipwrecked nearby. Another theory connected these structures to a complex British plot linked to the Glorious Revolution of 1688, involving treasure from another sunken Spanish ship, La Concepcion. Fred Nolan, one of the island's most respected surveyors, had his own unique perspective. He believed that the current Oak Island was originally two separate islands and that those responsible for the money pit and the flood tunnel had transported a treasure-filled ship between these islands. Nolan also suggested that these operations were conducted by the British during the American Revolution, as they attempted to conceal valuable items in anticipation of a defeat. According to him, this treasure was eventually hidden beneath a man-made swamp. Nolan passed away in 2016, leaving behind a legacy of bold, albeit unconfirmed, ideas. As theories about the island continued to grow, Rick Lagina and some team members decided to investigate a stone-lined water well marked with unusual symbols. They hoped local residents might shed some light on the island's past. The locals told stories of Templar knights who might have come to the New World with valuable items,
might be a clue that there's a link between Templar and Viking technology,
including possibly the Ark of the Covenant, after their order was disbanded in 1307. They linked these knights to Rosslyn Chapel, known for its mysterious carvings that some argue depict maize, indicating that people from Europe might have visited America long before Columbus. The locals also shared legends tying the legendary Micmac figure Glooskap to Henry Sinclair, a Scottish nobleman rumored to have traveled to the Americas in the 14th century. They portrayed Sinclair as a central figure in historical narratives that blend factual events with folklore. The treasure hunt dives deeper, where mysterious symbols await, from royal trees to secret societies. During his dive into the well, Tony Sampson found more intriguing carvings. A triangle with what looked like an eye inside it, reminiscent of Masonic symbols, and a stone with a broad arrow carved into it. Known as the King's Mark, this symbol was used by the British to mark government property and was commonly seen on military and naval equipment, suggesting a possible British influence on the island long before it became famous for its treasure hunts. The mix of carvings, symbols, and the historical context provided by locals kept the team's interest in the island alive, though they still faced the challenge of separating factual history from appealing folklore. The true story of Oak Island, wrapped in layers of speculation and unverified tales, continued to evade clear understanding, yet the ongoing discoveries kept the thrill of the hunt alive for many. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the allure of uncovering something significant, whether historical artifacts or actual treasure, kept the quest going, blending the thrill of exploration with the hope of eventually unraveling the island's storied past.
Roger, now that we're down near 50 feet here, I mean, there's a lot of potential for other works to be in the area. Offset chambers and the tunnel at the 95-foot mark.
Oh, for sure.
The British Empire didn't just spread its influence across continents, from Australia to India to British North America. It also claimed ownership over natural resources with the broad arrow mark. This symbol showed that anything marked was the property of the Crown. The British ignored local customs and the significance of symbols used by indigenous people. In North America, for instance, the British Navy would cut down any tree they wanted for their ships, regardless of what the local people thought or needed. This disregard for local resources and cultures led to the Pine Tree Riot in 1772 in Weir, New Hampshire. The riot was sparked by British policies that reserved the best eastern white pines, trees ideal for making masts and booms for ships for the Royal Navy. These trees were crucial for Britain to keep its naval and trading power. On May 10, 1708, the New Hampshire General Court had made a law to keep these trees for the Royal Navy's use. This law was more than just about protecting trees. It symbolized the British government's disregard for the rights and needs of the colonists. When British authorities tried to enforce this tree policy, the New Hampshire colonists had had enough. Their revolt, known as the Pine Tree Riot, was about more than just trees. It was a fundamental protest against British control. During the riot, the colonists flew a red flag with a pine tree and a white square at the corner, one of the first acts of open defiance against British authority. This flag later became a symbol of the broader fight for independence. The people involved in the riot went on to fight against the British in the Revolutionary War and to build important structures for their communities.
Digging on the Nolan side of the swamp, it's important to me for one reason. Fred believed that the swamp was key to solving the mystery. Is there a treasure galleon in the swamp, or is there a vault? And my hope is that it's there, and that we can find it.
In more recent times, the all-seeing eye, which during the Renaissance symbolized divine providence or God's oversight in human affairs, has taken on a darker meaning. It is now often associated with conspiracy theories about a new world order. These theories suggest that a small group of powerful people, perhaps linked to Freemasonry or the Bavarian Illuminati, are planning to set up a global authoritarian government. This shift from a symbol of divine oversight to one of elite conspiracy reflects a wider distrust in modern discussions about power and authority. People today are deeply suspicious of those in high positions and their intentions. So, from the forests of New Hampshire to the speculative top tiers of global governance, the story of power and its opposition remains highly relevant. Whether through the actual cutting down of trees to maintain naval superiority or the symbolic cutting back of freedoms through supposed secretive global schemes, the themes of power, control and resistance continue to shape our interactions and understandings of the world around us. Each find on Oak Island adds another piece to the puzzle, the eyes of providence. The all-seeing eye, a symbol deeply tied to the Christian idea of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son and Holy Spirit, has evolved over time into a symbol of God knowing everything. By the 18th century, it also became an emblem used by Freemasons around the world to represent the grand architect of the universe. This emblem was chosen in 1779 by Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and the artist Pierre-Eugène du Cimetière for the Great Seal of the United States, indicating their intent to place a divine mark on the national symbol. Turning our attention to Rosslyn Chapel, built by the Sinclair family, this structure houses numerous intricate carvings that have sparked extensive debates about the possible travels of the Templars. Notably, A letter dated 1546 from French Regent Mary of Guise to William Sinclair hints at potentially important knowledge embedded within the chapel's walls, though this notion remains cloaked in ambiguity without solid evidence to support it.
What is the Templar connection with this area?
Nella chiesa ci sono numerosi simboli che ora vi volevo far vedere, sono riconducibili ai Cavalieri Templari.
Meanwhile, on Oak Island, explorers Rick and Marty Lagina, known as the Lagina brothers, diligently explore a notorious swamp. Their explorations have unearthed various wooden fragments from different periods, including a particularly old piece from as early as the 8th century. This artifact suggests that the area might have been visited by ancient mariners, although the significance of these pieces is often obscured by their random nature. During their search, the brothers stumbled upon what appears to be an ancient structure, possibly a retaining wall for a shaft, intriguingly aligned with a decades-old theory by Fred Nolan. Nolan believed the swamp was artificially made to hide something valuable. Despite initial skepticism from experts, ongoing discoveries give some weight to his theory. The brothers called in veteran scientist Dr. Ian Spooner to examine this find. He speculated that it could be connected to an ancient stone road or an underground tunnel that leads to the infamous Money Pit, a site rumored to contain hidden riches. The construction of this structure, involving both wood and stone, seems carefully planned to last through many generations. The continuous excavation raises the question of whether these structures are actually connected to the well-known Money Pit, or if they are simply another piece of the island's complex historical puzzle. Interest in Oak Island is fueled by intermittent, puzzling finds rather than solid evidence, which continues to attract public attention despite a lack of definitive answers.
The original searches as far as town length wasn't until about 1860.
Yeah, these are pretty impressive numbers. This could be original.
Viewers remain captivated by the unfolding story, driven largely by the excitement of potential discovery and less by tangible historical evidence. Whether these new findings will provide real answers or just add another layer to Oak Island's complex history is yet to be determined, leaving those who follow the saga to wonder about the true value of these pursuits. As the Lagina brothers press forward, the lack of conclusive discoveries does not deter them. Instead, it seems to fuel their determination to continue probing the island's swampy terrain. Each piece of wood or hint of a structure found only deepens their resolve to continue, even in the face of expert skepticism. This ongoing search, while often yielding more questions than answers, remains a compelling narrative for those drawn to tales of exploration and the possibility of uncovering forgotten pieces of history. Do you think the search on Oak Island is a quest for truth or merely a treasure hunt fantasy? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates.